very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on CTV's PM Edition. My name is Bernadette Tapia. With me on sign language is Isaac Luchamozi. We start with an Ebola update. President Museveni has extended the 21-day lockdown to mitigate the spread of Ebola in Mubende and Kasanda districts. According to the Minister of Health, Dr. Ruth Acheng, the 21-day lockdown that ended today has further been extended. All restrictions and directives that were issued by the president remain in place. She has also appealed to the population in Kampala metropolitan area to cooperate and avoid spreading the disease further.
Let me repeat that. To minimize further the spread of Ebola within the two districts of Mubende and Kasanda, and to protect the rest of the country from continued exposure, all the directives issued by His Excellency the President of Uganda on the 15th of October 2022 will be extended for another 21 days. Additionally, all private healthcare facilities and drug shops in Mubende and Kasanda will be inspected and assessed for conformity with infection prevention and control standards. All those that do not meet the required standards will be temporarily closed, and the healthcare workers trained by the Ministry of Health to improve on infection prevention. The health regulatory authorities are requested to support the Ministry of Health in this exercise to protect the lives of the health workers and ensure a safe working environment. I want to reassure the country that the government is doing all that is possible to control this outbreak, as we have done before. Therefore, there is no need for anxiety or panic. The situation in Kampala metropolitan area remains under control as the Ministry of Health and partners continue to sensitize the population and follow up all the contacts. Our healthcare workers will continue to do all it takes to save lives and bring the epidemic to an end.
Relatedly, today marks the end of the 21 days of the Ebola lockdown in Mubende and Kasanda districts. Katikiro Charles Peter Maiga has warned the public to be vigilant in order to avoid the spread of the infectious disease, which could lead to a nationwide lockdown and the loss of more life.
The economy is staggered a lot. We are still suffering from the after effects of COVID-19. And that partly explains the inflationary spiral we experience today. If a second lockdown is announced by government, then there will be a further slowdown in the economy. There will be no investors. There will be no tourists. There will be no economic activity. And inflation can only worsen with another lockdown. So we urge everybody to be on the alert and to heed the recommendations of the health experts to stem the spread of the virus. So let's do the following things. We urge those in the areas that have been locked down, the quarantined areas, to stay in those areas. We urge all Ugandans to heed the advice and the recommendations of the World Health Organization, the recommendations of our Ministry of Health and the central government, and the recommendations of the health department here in the kingdom, and other health experts wherever they are. We should desist from the belief that the Ebola virus is caused by witchcraft. And we should desist from taking our friends or relatives to traditional healers. Instead, we should take them to hospitals and health facilities, because the Ebola virus is not caused by witchcraft. We should not exhume dead bodies of people that have died of Ebola virus, especially for traditional reasons or cultural reasons or for religious reasons, because there are religious rites, especially within Muslims, that require dead persons to be cleaned according to the religious rites. Now, if somebody has died of the Ebola virus, I think those religious rites should be suspended, because those who carry them out on a dead body of somebody who has died of virus will catch the virus, as it was reported in Kasanda and Muvende.
Parliament on Friday approved government's request to borrow 1.7 trillion shillings from international lenders to fund the budget's infrastructure and development needs, despite objections from the opposition, which claims that the loan terms are hostile. Last month, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, presented a formal proposal to Parliament to approve the loan.
When Parliament resumed on Tuesday after a one-month recess, the loan request proposal was referred to Parliament's National Economic Committee for scrutiny.
And this is not to everybody.
The State Minister for Finance, Henry Musasizi, who appeared before the committee to defend the loan request, says it was urgent to enable government implement various projects that were stipulated in the 2022-2023 financial year. The 2022-2023 budget stands at 48 Uganda trillion shillings. However, only 23 Ugandan trillion shillings will be locally sources, meaning that 25 Uganda trillion shillings will come from donors and other sources like loans and grants.
We approved the budget in May with various sources of revenue, including budget support borrowing.
Other MPs on the committee, especially opposition lawmakers, wanted Musasizi to break down how the money would be spent. He told them that the loan is for budget support and will be added to the consolidated fund.
At this moment, the way we're handling this loan, it is sending a clear message to everybody that there is a huge crisis in the economy of Uganda. Whether we are going to be chasing away investors or what, because the way we're handling it, it may not be the case. But the way we're handling it, the message which goes out is there is a big problem.
Mind you, we are doing this on behalf of all Ugandans. If we borrow wrongly, we are affecting our children and grandchildren. It should not be rushed. Let's look at each and every aspect so that we come out with a report that is really representing the views and what we would have done.
Robert Sechitoleko, the Bamnanika Country MP, however, says the failure by the government to utilize public fund effectively is the reason why he is skeptical about future borrowing.
It's a total alarming, but now there are some individuals who are pushing a liability to some institutions, like a parliament. Now we are here to claim that you go for a loan facility. You have not explained wider the purpose of the facility. And we have other pending loans which are not yet defined. And to my dismay, our sons and daughters who are paying for this, who are going to pay for this. Because when you watch the situation, there is no future solution, there is no current situation which is giving Ugandans hope.
According to documents tabled before the committee, the loan will be acquired through Standard Chartered Bank, which will act as the lead arranger and agent for Nippon Export and Investment Insurance, a Japanese insurance firm, and the Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, the providers of the money. Shadow Finance Minister Muhammad Chivumbi questions the interest payment on the part of the loan supplied by Islamic Corporation for Insurance of Investment and Export Credit does attract interest according to Islamic banking regulations. Joyce Wagala, the Mityana woman MP, says Uganda's economy is struggling because of bad governance.
You know, something can be bad but not surprising. There's so many things that have been passed in Parliament and they're not good. They affect Ugandans. One of them is that loan of the 1.7 trillion. Very, very unfortunate. Does not meet the standards. It breaks all the laws. It is a bad loan. It is going to affect Ugandans of this generation and the coming generation. But see, this is what we keep telling Ugandans as the opposition. one thing that I cannot say is that, because such things pass in Parliament and therefore Parliament is not necessary or Parliament should be done away with. It is very important for Parliament to be in existence, for us to be able to tell Ugandans how bad this government is.
Committee Chairperson John Bosco Ikojo and Hassan Chirumira, the Katikamu South MP, were concerned about a clause in the loan agreement that required Uganda to waive sovereign immunity for assets at home and abroad, implying that lenders could seize the country's assets in the event of default. Mr. Asizi, however, dismissed such fears, saying government will ensure the final terms are negotiated in a manner that cautions Uganda's assets.
That story takes us in for a short commercial break. More when we return.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. You go? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again.
I will break you, Spooky.
Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. You're so blind!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
It's in the air! Will that be set?
He's done it! What a magnificent performance!
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, life switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching PM Edition. Now, in 2010, a government announced that most of the land in Buvuma was to be used for palm oil growing by a Malaysian investor. After the announcement, Buvuma residents were taught on how their land was to be used and how they would benefit from the project. More in this report.
John Paul Bisaso, a farmer in Buvuma, says that many people who own land were told to either sell it to the investor willingly or become palm oil outgrowers. According to Bisaso, many people surrendered their land after being assured that they would be compensated. Although some people were compensated, many of them have never been compensated decades down the road.
Have not made any development on this land. This land was the core key from which they could get the earning for school fees, for food and other things, but as if the land is idle, nothing can be done because there is a commitment. So delay to pay these people is a serious problem.
Following the complaints, Buvuma district officials, together with the National Oil Palm Project staff, met in Chitamiro town in Buvuma district to present their grievances to the redress committees. The committees have been set up in the sub-counties of Busamizi, Nairambi, Buoya and Buvuma Town Council. Buvuma Administrative Officer Moses Chona says the oil palm project is a good intervention aimed at enhancing the well-being of residents.
It's going to succeed. The institutional development and the steps being taken are, I think, very, very systematic. And it's my appeal that the government will borrow leave from the National Oil Project Many of the agricultural interventions in this country, if they had taken this approach, I think would have succeeded.
Anthony Nkwasibwe, the palm oil project manager, says the project is inclusive. Nkwasibwe confirms that they have a lot of land issues since many people are yet to be compensated.
Complaints are there, yes. Because we bought lands for the last 10 years, we have been buying land. People are coming back on the project land. And we're saying, guys, we have compensated the land, we have compensated tenants. So it's project land. Others have been compensated and their spouses have taken the money. They feel they should come back on the same project land, which they even take the money.
Nkwasibwe says that the project of 5,000 hectares of land and outgrowers have 2,500 hectares of palm oil farms. Sharon Twebaze, CTV PM Edition.
Dozens of rice farmers in Chikube district have acquired skills in modern and sustainable upland rice cultivation to enhance production. The move was initiated by Makerere University in partnership with African Plant Nutrition Institute in Morocco.
The initiative is aimed at enhancing rice production in Bunyoro through adaptation of climate, smart agriculture options, and market-responsive business strategies. It was rolled out this year by Makerere University in partnership with Chikube District Local Government, funded by African Plant Nutrition Institute in Morocco. Dr. Kahesi Kusima, the Chikube District Principal Agriculture Officer, says that several rice demonstration projects were set up in Chikube Town Council in Chiziramfumbi Division in August this year to promote sustainable upland rice cultivation skills.
When you look at what is being done on the field, it is climate change. So meaning we are looking at how rice production can thrive in this era of climate change.
Dr. Patrick Musinguzi, the principal investigator from Makerere University, says that demonstration projects owned by selected farmers are learning centers for farmers in the district to adapt new technology and also help researchers to collect data.
So we are having both strategies. We are demonstrating, but also we are collecting data on what we are calling an optimized plot. A modern way of doing farming is being demonstrated here on rice.
He says that under the project, they promote ideal agronomical practices through skilling farmers on how to manage water in rice farms by using bunds, how to apply fertilizers and dry planting to ensure that farmers grow rice under harsh conditions.
We are establishing bunds so that water remains in the farm for long. So we are actually trying to use rain-fed for now because that's what farmers are adopting or using to ensure that at least even under hard conditions, farmers can grow rice.
There is concern, however, that sugarcane growing in the district is hampering rice production.
Currently, it is being threatened by sugarcane production, which by its nature requires loads of land.
Most of the land which was initially under rice is now being converted into sugarcane production. So somehow the production has reduced overall in Chikube.
Paul Musinguzi, a rice farmer in Chiziramfumbi sub-county, says he has acquired better rice production skills. However, Joseph Kwezi, another farmer, says farming inputs that are costly are affecting his enterprise. Production of rice in Bunyoro region has reduced due to unpredictable rainfall and poor soils. Sharon Twebaze, CTV PM Edition.
Thank you, Sharon. Now, apart from offering medical attention to accident victims on Massacre Road, Nkozi Hospital has launched a scheme to renovate and equip a dental section. The launch for the new dental unit at Nkozi Hospital started with a mass that was led by Reverend Father Charles Wamala. Edward Kakembo, the Rotary District Governor, says the dental ward is intended to serve the community at an affordable cost that will cost them $75,000 US.
And no adequate equipment to conduct most of the procedures that the patients who come would need. Even those that are there, they look like they have served for 80 years and they are tired.
I want to thank the Church of Uganda and the Catholic Church for providing infrastructure. This infrastructure you've given us is a big milestone for us because Rotary does not construct housings, but we support. We have the money to support, to buy the machinery, to buy each and everything, even to take these sisters or the medical person, take them and train them. At the cancer center in Zambia, we took 14 of the medical personnel to the United States of America to be trained.
Those are people who have agreed to work together in the ideal of service. They are people committed to making their communities better everywhere they go. Personally, at Kampala Seven Hills, our vision is to be a model club that improves communities through impactful and sustainable projects.
In news from the region, Guinea's ruling junta on Thursday ordered prosecutors to take legal action against former President Alpha Condé, and last-minute preparations are underway in Egypt's seaside resort of Sharm el-Sheikh as it prepares to welcome delegates to this year's United Nations Climate Conference, COP27.
The prosecutions against Condé, as well as other officials and ex-ministers, include alleged acts of corruption, illicit enrichment, money laundering, and embezzlement of public funds and complicity. In total, the Minister of Justice, Alphonso Charles Wright, gave a list of 188 names, some of which are already in prison. Their accounts are frozen, according to the letter sent by the Minister to the Attorneys General. It is imperative to open judicial investigations to clarify the origin of the funds in these various accounts, the minister added. The former leader was overthrown in 2021 by Colonel Mamad Doumbouya. Since then, he was granted multiple stays abroad to seek medical treatment. The Guinea military authorities said in May they would prosecute former President Alpha Condé and 26 of his officials for violence surrounding his bid for a controversial third term in office in 2020. The Guinean judiciary had acted following the January 2022 action by the National Front for the Defense of the Constitution, a collective that led the months-long protest against the third term for Condé from October 2019. The collective has since been dissolved by the junta because its members denounced the unilateral management of the so-called transition period, the seizure of power, and had called for demonstrations banned by the authorities. Some 30,000 people representing governments, businesses, NGOs, and civil society groups are registered to attend the meeting, which gets underway on Sunday. This year's gathering is taking place against the backdrop of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has caused global inflation and an energy and food crisis. Many countries have had to scale back on their climate goals in the short term, and it is believed COP27 will likely see a setback in the pledges and commitments previously made by some of them. UN warning on temperature cap. Under the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, adopted by 196 parties in 2016, the goal is to limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius and preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. But last week, the United Nations warned that there is no credible pathway in place for capping the rise in global temperatures under the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. At last year's COP26 in Glasgow, nations agreed to review their carbon-cutting pledges annually and not just every 5 years, though only a handful of nations have done so in 2022.
On the international scene, 3 United States Presidents incumbent Joe Biden, his Democratic ally Barack Obama, and Republican Donald Trump take their campaigns to Pennsylvania in a race which could decide which parties control the U.S. Senate, and it's very close. We apologize for that technical glitch. We take another short break, but stay with us. Sports is up next. Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're still watching PM Edition. In PM Sports tonight, the She Cranes have opened their first 5 World Series Netball Tournament account with a win and 2 defeats. The She Cranes lost their first game against New Zealand by 49-32. They, however, beat Jamaica 32-22 in their second game. In the third games, the She Cranes lost 38-34 against England.
Thank you very much. Today's games, we played very well. Apart from the first game that maybe we made some errors, which costed us that game. But again, the second game we tried to beef up our attacks and whatever, which made us win. And again, in the last game, it was I think we should have won that game, but the umpire decision is not we are taking because he had allowed us, he had disallowed us to goal. Saying that maybe the lady who had taken that shot was, the lady who had taken the shot was delayed to take that shot on the right time in the 3 seconds. So for her, she cancelled the goal, but to my surprise, the table was saying that they awarded the goal. And then my argument here now is umpire decision is final. Therefore, to me, personally, I think that she should stand on her words and tell the officials on the table that she had disallowed that goal, and that would be our win. But if they are giving them the win, then it is going to be unfortunate for us as Uganda, because we have played so hard, as we are all out, and wanted that match very much. Now that they want to take it away from us, I think it's going to be a very disappointment.
That was our broadcast tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a blessed night.